Adventure. It's probably the most important word in motorcycling these days. The adventure bike market is huge. Over 250,000 1200 GSs have been sold since 2004. The Yamaha Super Tenere was the first bike to make at least a small dent in the GS's incredible sales. But now the GS is up against its two most serious challenges yet, one from Triumph and one from Honda. The producers have said we've got to test them both, since they've both just arrived in South Africa, so I thought I'd choose the Triumph. The spec sheet says it's the best option, biggest power in class. Clinton, in the meantime, well, he'll be off testing the Honda.
Well, that's predictable, isn't it? The old colonial picks the British bike, and I think that's his mistake. Let's get one fact straight first. Honda's the biggest motorcycle manufacturer in the world, which in my book makes it the most successful. Honda's engineering and technology has led the way in two wheels for years, and I believe they've done it again with this Crosstourer. It's the first adventure bike with a V4 engine, and it's not a brand new motor like the Triumph is.
The question is then, how do you like your adventure served? With a Honda V4 or a Triumph Triple? I don't know what adventure biking means to you, but to Triumph, and I have to say I agree with them on this, these big dual-purpose off-road machines are primarily biased towards tar touring. And since that's what this Explorer is meant to do, that's the first job on this test. Time to hit the road. It doesn't take long to realise the Explorer is a tremendous sport tourer. It handles really well for a big bike and is exceptionally comfortable thanks to a great seat, adjustable screen and standard cruise control, can you believe? The engine on the Explorer is essentially all new. It's still an inline triple as you'd expect from Triumph. It's what sets them apart. But at 1200 cc's is a big old engine and it is possibly one of their best. It's incredibly smooth at low and mid-range, and it's pretty damn quick as well with 135 brake horsepower.
The Triumph might make a few more horsepower at the top end, but through the mid-range, the Crosstourer's got to be the daddy. The V4 is so smooth, there's so much grunt, you can literally just pop the front wheel up off the throttle, or stick it in top gear and forget about the gearbox until you stop. And being a V4, it's a narrow bike. It feels slim, sporty, not wide and toury, if you know what I mean. Get into touring mode though, you could easily cruise a good 300 k's before you need a refill.
There's simply no denying the fact that the Triumph Explorer is a brilliant road bike. But there's also no avoiding the fact that it's a dual-purpose adventure bike and I need to test it off-road and I am hopeless. But I better just get on and do it. Come on, Explorer. Look after me, baby. Look after me. As you can see, I haven't exactly chosen a difficult route, but in my defence, it's my pathetic skill levels and this type of gentle off-roading that these big adventure bikes are aimed at. The Triumph might well be a quarter of a tonne a bike, but the quality suspension means it glides along gravel roads, isolating you from the worst of the bumps. And the perfect fueling means it will quite happily crawl along at slower speeds. My sort of off-road pace, which is very similar to walking, but with wheels. Back onto a major gravel route, and the Triumph and I feel much more at ease. So much so that we leap a raging river and decide I should enter the Dakar.
I know Matt's not enjoying this part of the test, but wow, I really am. This Honda's a really big bike, but you just don't feel it. It handles so well, even in tricky tracks like these. And I know the spec sheet says it's heavier than the Triumph, but you even can't feel it in the slow stuff.
The Crosstourer is carrying 25 kilos more than the Explorer, but Honda has been so clever with its mass centralization that you'd swear it's the other way around. I thought not being able to turn the ABS off might be a hassle, but the system's so good, you don't even notice it most of the time. Just turn the traction control off, forget it's a physically big bike, and you can do stuff the Crosstourer probably wasn't designed to do, like even the occasional jump. The fact that the Honda can do all of this really does show that it can handle what it's meant to do without even breaking a sweat. On the surface, it might look less of an adventure bike than the Triumph, but under the skin, I reckon it's the other way around.
I think we might as well have a couple of scientific tests. And at the bike show, no expenses spared in bringing you the most scientific testing on television today. Bring it on. This is a Triumph Explorer, no ABS. How far to stop? Can you turn the ABS on? How did you get rid of it? And then, this time it's Triumph Explorer with ABS. Muddy proof that technology works in mysterious ways. Triumph Explorer stopped here from 40 k's an hour without the use of ABS. So that was just Clint hauling down and trying not to fall off. About a metre and a half further on, Explorer with ABS on. So yes, he said it felt safer, but he didn't stop as quick. Honda Crosstourer, ABS on. If you've got no ABS at all, you can lock the rear brake so the rear wheel stops turning, and that amount of drag works brilliantly off-road, and it does help you stop quicker than if you use all the technology, good as it is. Scientific test number 2, more dirt, more Clinton, Honda Crosstourer. He's going to try and ride around in circles with the traction control on. Turn the traction control off and you can spin the rear tyre, and you can turn easier if you know what you're doing. Same test, Triumph, traction control on. Yes. Down that other button. This will be a bit more like it. Explorer, traction control off. Well, it's been an interesting day's riding, and I'm glad I've had Clinton along because he gets to ride the Honda, which I didn't want to ride anyway. I've ridden that before. And he gets to do all the show-offy dirt bit that you've just done. Clinton, of the two, which has got the least intrusive ABS system?
I would definitely say the Honda's got the least intrusive ABS. When you kind of trying to lock up the back wheel on the Triumph, you almost feel like you're accelerating instead of slowing down at all.
Yeah, it does feel a little bit clunkier on the Triumph, and the traction control is good on both of them. But again, which would you choose? Which is the least intrusive when you're riding?
I must say, one thing about the Honda that really made it easier for me is one button and traction control was off, you know. Triumph, a little bit more intrusive again, probably a little bit safer.
Well, you're making it quite obvious now, but which is the best bike off-road?
Definitely going to go with the Honda from this one.
That does surprise me a little bit. I've ridden them down the normal gravel routes that your average tourer will be doing, and I prefer the Triumph. It is a bit heavier. When it gets slower, it's a bit too top heavy, but the suspension is plush, and it just makes me feel a lot more confident. Finally, as road bikes, which is where these are going to spend all of their time, I have to personally say that I think the Explorer is the better bike. Both of their engines are absolutely brilliant. This just makes a more comfortable, more accomplished, more easy riding road bike. And no doubt you're going to disagree with me.
Yeah, I'm going to be going with the Honda all round. Just a good package. I really, really enjoyed this burner bike.
I'm slightly surprised having ridden that. I didn't rate it quite so highly, but there you go. Evaluating bikes is a very subjective business. These are two very important motorcycles in a huge market segment, adventure biking. A GS is going to have it a lot tougher now.